by. I'll let you know next week.
That sounds
Do it
great.
as well.
Yeah,
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Bye, guys.
All right. So, again, some of you may know a lot about this. Some of you may not know anything about it. That's okay. But I think it's good to have a little bit of background knowledge because the op-ed won't lay out the debate very well. So what do we know about this debate? What are the different sides? Yeah, D'Angelo.
Some people believe that the pandemic came into America to see who was like docile. Wasn't that the argument that like went on the radio?
So when you say pandemic, I think what you're referring to is that it was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was intentionally sort of created. So that's one sort of belief is that this was something that was intentionally done to us or the world. Adela.
I really don't remember, but I feel like I heard something about some person who had ate a soup with either that or using like a pangolin. And it was something that was attached to animals and the consumption of animals.
Right. In China, people through their diet they really value things that are living or recently alive. They don't really like to deep fry things that have been dead for a long time like we do. And so they have wet markets in China. And in those wet markets, live animals are sold. And through that process, it would make sense that viruses could emerge through wet markets because animals are alive and in close proximity to each other. And that's a great way for viruses to spread, right? And that happens here in America. If you've looked at American factory farming, we have sick animals all the time. Beach and then hold it.
I think it's would be like kind of silly to think that it just so happened that the town right next to the respiratory disease laboratory there happened to be a disease outbreak.
Right.
And then China started just like denying it. I just think it'd be foolish to think that there was not a connection.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this one out because we're not going to touch that one. So the debate is essentially between two sides. There's people that believe that the virus emerged naturally, the way that most viruses historically have emerged, and that's from animals infecting humans somehow. There are others who believe, well, there's no bats in Wuhan other than the ones at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So for a lab virus to emerge in a city of 11 million people, where there are only bats in one location, it would make sense that some type of lab leak happened. Either through, they were actually studying viruses and got infected, or they took a virus, manipulated it, and then it became infectious through that manipulation. Holden, I saw your hand.
I remember people saying that it was just a different version of the flu that the government was overreacting and they're shutting down.
Right, so this was a very important thing that happened at the beginning. There were reports as early as November of 2019 that there was some problems happening in China. And then it took until probably like late December, early January for our government to start to react. And the initial reaction was, go about your life. This is just the flu. It's probably even weaker than the flu. It probably never even get here. And what that was based on was the SARS-1 virus, Secure Acute Respiratory Syndrome virus number 1. That virus was really bad. About 10% of people who got SARS died. But SARS was not really good at infecting humans. And you were really not infectious until you were really sick. So it was very easy to isolate SARS. And then MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, was also a coronavirus that came on the scene. 30% fatality rate. If you got MERS, good luck. But again, not a lot of people got it. So the thinking was it's going to be just like SARS and MERS. Some people in China will die. It's going to be sad, but it's nothing. It's a nothing burger. Then as more information started to emerge, it became clear that no, In fact, this is going to be pretty dangerous because of what vehicle was really good for transmission. It's air, but where do a lot of people get together and share the same air?
Buses.
Airplanes, buses. What type of vacation do people really like to go on? Cruises. There was the cruise ship outbreak, and it was like, oh wait a minute.
There's one outside.
Everyone on the cruise ship got COVID. This is not just the flu. And at that point, government officials had an incentive to maybe lie because they wanted us to keep going about our business and buying stuff and things like that. Then once Wuhan locked down and Italy got hit, once Italy got hit really hard, it was like, oh, wait a minute. This might be really bad, right? And then New York City had it really bad at the beginning of the pandemic, and that led to a lot of the lockdowns we saw. So the two sides of the debate today are looking at, well, we're only going to look at one side, but most people believe that the virus emerged naturally because that's how most pandemics start. And we're doing stuff with animals all the time. We're coming in closer and closer proximity to rainforests and things like that, where we're picking up new viruses like SARS and MERS and now SARS-2. So what you're going to read about today is a little bit more about the side you may not have heard as much about, which is this idea of a lab leak. So let me pass those out to you. And while you read, you're going to think about
That's a funny word.
and you guys can annotate these because you're the last period, so you guys can keep these if you want. I'm not going to use these. So as you read, pay close attention to, there's going to be multiple arguments and multiple pieces of evidence. So what are the arguments and what are the pieces of evidence that support those? We're going to come back to that. So what are the arguments and what pieces of evidence are used to support those arguments?